Hey yo, actually Amoongus here with something a little special for you guys because we're anticipating the somewhat soon, although there's no telling how soon, virtual console or Nintendo Switch online expansion pack, whatever we're calling it. They're letting us play some old school Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy Color on our Nintendo Switch. Now today, we're going to walk you through it before it comes out, so when it does drop, you know everything that you need to know about this game, and I do mean everything. So we're going to start with the Bulbasaur deck, and you can start with any of the 3 decks, but there's a specific reason why I'm going to use Bulbasaur for this guide, and I feel like it's one of the best decks that you can build in the game could come from the Bulbasaur deck. When we look at the Bulbasaur deck, one positive thing about it, I'm not going to go through the whole deck, but you would notice we got grass and we got water, but barely. However, what you may not notice is that we got Vaporeon. Now, Vaporeon does rely on water energy. We got Vaporeon, we got Eevee, and we also got Flareon. Now, this Flareon is not a part of our deeper strategy, but I just want to point out that any Pokemon that can attack for more than 20 damage for 2 energy is pretty good. So Flareon can go in any deck, and there's an even better Flareon that when you're using Flareon, as you acquire more cards, you can replace it with. Now let's go to who you should battle first, because that's very important. So the first person that you want to grind against is the first person by the entrance when you enter the main room of the Rock Club, Andrew. Main reason that you want to grind against him is because he uses a pretty defensive, like stally strategy, but you'll have a pretty consistent win rate against him, especially if you chose the Bulbasaur deck. He uses a lot of high HP and not very offensive Pokemon, so even once he gets rolling, he kind of just doesn't do a whole lot. So when you defeat Andrew, he's going to give you Coliseum packs, and you can get some really staple cards from there. The second person I want to show you to grind against is in the Science Club. Once again, first person when you enter the club is Eric right here. And once you defeat Eric, he's going to drop the evolution packs, which do have some key Pokemon for this particular deck build. But when it comes to really getting this deck off the ground and getting it set up as your first build that can like carry you no matter what opponent you're playing pretty much, you really need the grass energy, because we're gonna eventually spin this into a just grass deck. So after playing the 2 of them for a few games, I build a deck that looks something like this. You might use different evolution lines, but we're looking at mostly grass with some value cards in there. And we're going to get to these Pokemon later. But right now all you need to know is he's got really good damage and HP. Pretty good HP. And he's got the ability, well, the attack Fetch. Because you're probably not going to get a whole lot of Comet Punch off. And right now you're just trying to grind up to get a more complete deck. So you can use that first deck and you can bounce around and start battling a little bit with it if you want to. But I also want to show you the second deck build, because you can grind up to one of the premier deck builds in the game off of the Coliseum packs that you'll get from battling Andrew. And you can then make, I call this the baby Haymaker deck, because this is like the janky thrown together with what I've managed to get. I did get a full set of Hitmonchan. I got 3 Electabuzz. I only have 1 Scyther though, and that's one of the main cards I'm targeting, and it's in my grass deck. But I got some Bills, I got some Oaks, which are all in the Coliseum packs. And the point of this deck is we're just using small, low cost, mostly basic Pokemon with low cost attacks that can put in a little bit of work. We're going to take these out as well as the Digletts, but you see with the Diglett can bring out some damage. And this will allow you to grind against Brandon in the Electric Club. And he's also, you know, same idea. Very free, easy wins. And he gives you Coliseum packs and as well as electric energies, which you'll need to improve your Haymaker deck in order to turn it into the actual version of the Haymaker deck. So at this point, the baby Haymaker deck can pretty much carry you through the game, especially if you're slightly tweaking it, adding bills and power pluses and stuff like that as you go. But a little side note, in the Rock Club and the Science Club, two places that I've specifically told you to go, do not talk to this woman by the potted plant in the Rock Club. Do not talk to this little boy over here by the potted plant in the Science Club. And go ahead and collect as many of the gym medals as you want, except save the Grass Club. The reason for this is because until you have the right cards in your collection to trade, you don't want to trigger Ishihara's house, especially not more than once, and miss the opportunity to get the special Pikachu cards. So keep that in mind and go ahead and get the gym medals. And really, you just got to watch out for Ronald. He's probably the biggest challenge that you'll come across. And you'll battle Ronald after your second gym medal, your fifth medal, I think after your eighth medal, or maybe before. It's either after the seventh or eighth. I apologize. But for Ishihara, you're going to want level 19, the Game Boy exclusive Ditto, a Clefable, and a Chansey before you trigger him. So keep all that in mind before collecting all of your medals. But go ahead and do that because the variety of opponents will help you fill out your collection a little bit. So one of the only battles that is probably going to give you a little bit of difficulty is after you get your second medal. We have our Haymaker deck currently looking like this. We've got double colorless energies now. We got all of our Hitmonchans, but we don't have all of our Kangaskhans, Scythers, and Electabuzz. So we're still running the Machop. But the reason I bring it up is because after you get your second medal, whenever you leave the main room of the gym, you battle your rival Ronald, and we have the Eevees that we mentioned earlier in the video, or the Evolutions, which provide you with some type coverage to battle him. They all do different, pretty good things. They're definitely fairly decent, and they can all run off of colorless energy, and they're really good once you have your double colorless energy. And so after you beat Ronald, he'll give you a special promo card. It's not even that it's that great, it's just that you don't want to miss your opportunity to get it. And so once you get your third medal, you're going to be able to do your first Challenge Cup. And you want to make sure you do it because when you get 5 medals, you'll get the second Challenge Cup. So obviously, the first one will go away. Oh, and that's one of the cards that you trade to Ishihara right there. But I'm pretty sure it's the second one, so we need a Clefable still. So yes, you go to the Challenge Hall, you defeat 3 opponents, and you get a level 60 Mewtwo. And keep in mind, your third opponent is going to be against Ronald, but you probably just beat him with the same deck if you're playing the same way I am. So once you beat Ronald in the third battle of the Challenge Cup, you get a level 60 Mewtwo card, which you only get certain ones throughout the game. I think you can play the Challenge Cup multiple times to get more, but it's a grind, so you want to get them. You need this. This is one of the best promos in the game too, in my opinion. So the next important event that you need to watch for, two of them actually, they happen when you get your 5th medal. Once again, whenever you leave this room, you're going to battle Ronald. And after I open these packs, I'm going to show you the new version of the Haymaker deck. It is now called the Do the Wave deck. Basically revolves around the 3 heavy hitters of the game. And you'll see Ronald's deck's going to be a similar but slightly worse version. But now we have the Queen, able to do 60 damage clean to just everything for 3 energy. Really for 2 cards if you consider the 4 double colorless energy. And slap a plus power on Oko 70 HP Pokemon. It's beautiful. Then we just have some like power trainer cards. And yeah, this deck is like the deck of the game. This deck is the strongest build in the game. This deck could beat any trainer, including the Grandmasters, for you. But we're going to use it to beat Ronald. So you want to make sure that you know, don't throw it or save before you battle Ronald 1. Make sure you get that super energy retrieval. And make sure you do the Challenge Cup. So then, once you beat Ronald again in the Challenge Cup, you get another promo card, the level 8 Mew. So, we've kind of mentioned earlier in the video, we saved the Grass Club and talking to certain people to not trigger Ishihara's house until we have the cards that we need to do all of the trades for him. In this case, so we can just go ahead and show you all of them at once and how to trigger them. The cards you'll need are Clefable, Chansey, and Ditto, the Game Boy Ditto. And the first way you can trigger Ishiharu's house is by talking to this woman that looks like they have a beard. You have to talk to, we'll call her the bearded woman. Talk to the bearded woman, save, reset the game, and talk to the bearded woman again. But then you can get a Surfing Pikachu. Next, if you go to the Science Club and talk to the person closest to the plant, well, you have to save and reset and talk to him again. Then you can trade him a Ditto for a Flying Pikachu. And then the third one is triggered by defeating the trainers in the grass gym. And we're going to do all of that and then come back. So, once you defeat all the members of the Grass Club, Nikki will go to Ishihara's house and you should be able to trigger the third trade. Also, speaking of Nikki, her deck is very similar to one of the other like top decks that I was going to include in this video. And it's not quite perfect yet, but this is basically the idea of the Explosion deck, which revolves around using, I would like at least one more copy of Venusaur to use his energy transfer ability. To transfer energy over to Executor and do a whole lot of damage. I guess the last trade with the Chansey is after you defeat the Grandmasters. So that means we go ahead and get the rest of our medals at this point. I'm basically just using the Do the Wave deck to do everything at this point in the game. By the way, speaking of Imakuna, speaking of special events, when it comes to Imakuna, if you're trying to farm him, just keep going into the lounge of the clubs and it's just a random chance. Now, you don't have to use the same deck to beat all the Grandmasters, but I just wanted to give you guys a deck that could, and you can definitely do the wave on all the Grandmasters with no edits. But you can, it's not like the regular Pokemon games where you're stuck with the same deck. You can use a deck to counter each one specifically if you want to, but it does work, and it'll be Ronald too, no problem. So so there you have it. Honestly, I think this guide can pretty much help you do anything that I didn't cover inside the game as well. There's some other trades by just looking and talking to people I didn't cover. There's battling Zuka that I've hardly covered, but this will get you to the end game. At this point, you can do the Challenge Cup, which, by the way, just save and reset and see if there's another Challenge Cup if that's what you're wanting to do. And there's a couple other pretty good decks like the Rain Dance deck and other things that I might make an entire video for, but I think I'm going to save that for whenever the game actually comes out, and I'll grind and do it on the Nintendo Switch Online version. And until then, I hope this guide helped you. If you're still watching at the end of the guide, make sure you drop a like and subscribe for your boy. I put a little bit of work into this guide. I mean, I kind of lived this guide. This was my childhood, this early Pokemon meta. So I felt like I could kind of do it justice. But I did put a lot of work into it. So make sure you drop the like and subscribe. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Peace.